Wouldn't you love to find an egg like this in your Easter basket? Actually, there's more than one. This is known as a matryoshka egg, and it's very popular in Russia. We've used as inspiration my own Arakonit chicken eggs, which come in all these varying shades of green and blue and pink and gray white. And Kevin Walker from our style department just figured out how to paint this set of nesting eggs, which is a very simple interpretation of the very much more complicated version of the Russian matryoshka doll. So some of them look like that, some of them look like the cute little blue and gold ones, but these look like Easter eggs. Oh, where do you find the set, by the way?
You get them in their unfinished state from a store called the Golden Cockerel. And it's online, goldencockerel.com, $14 for a set of 5.
And they're so beautiful. They have a beautiful base, and they are made in Russia. What kind of wood is this?
It's a birch wood.
I take it apart, and
then we start to prime it. And the real secret to priming these is that you want to use a shellac-based primer. And shellac-based primer is alcohol-based so that it dries very quickly.
And it kills all stains and
it
seals.
absolutely seals and kills everything.
So do I have any of that here?
We have this, but we already have our sets.
Oh, okay. These are have already. Now, any sanding once you prime?
2 coats, sanding between coats.
With what kind of sandpaper?
Sanding sponges. They're really wonderful.
Okay.
The first coat I used a fine.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to get rid of the wood burrs. But this second coat we want to move on to a super fine. It's
now, has this been sanded
grit.
yet?
It's been touched a little bit, but we really need to finish these up before we start to paint them. There's some brush strokes from the primer still on it. And you just want to lightly go in circles with the sanding sponge. The great thing about the sanding sponge is that it wraps around.
It's malleable, that's right.
Wraps to the contours, so you don't strip the paint or the primer off.
So once it's primed.
Once it's primed and sanded twice, you get to this wonderful sheen surface, which is perfect for painting. We have 5 eggs, so we'll need 5 colors. And instead of finding 5 different paints that matched perfectly, we decided it'd be much more wonderful if we mixed our own.
What could be better than authentic Martha Stewart color? And this is silky white. And this is what, an acrylic base?
It's an acrylic base because these are such fine paints, they don't even go latex. They go with the exact same thing that artists use. So you'll notice that it's a little bit more gelatinous. You can hardly move it.
Right.
However, this will ensure a really beautiful...
Now, what color do you have?
My colors are sea lavender and then fountain grass.
How much?
I went with about 3 or 4 spoonfuls. We want to first knock out these 2 ends so that we can then formulate the gradation. So that's my first step, and then 5 steps later, I know will be my last color, or this color. So I can then just spoon a little bit more paint into there. Now to sort of mix up and make sure that you've got these middle steps, let's imagine this is 2, 3, 4, and then this will be 5. So on my eggs, you can see it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You want to make sure that you mix appropriate amounts.
My method is a little different than yours. I start with lots, less, and very less.
It'll work.
Oh, it will.
Because this is very imprecise as a science. You just have to eye it. The middle being egg number 3. So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that this middle gradation is half of my blue and half of my pink. So whatever 2 colors you choose, just make sure that it's 50% of both. Now, the eggs number 2 and 4, so that would be the one that's right next to the smallest and the one that's right next to the largest, are going to be percentages of that. So I must imagine it like a recipe. If you consider something 3 parts of one and 1 part of the other, you come up with 100%.
Do you have any idea what he's talking about?
I hope so.
I don't have a clue.
So right here, we imagine that's going to be the 3 parts nearest to my pink color. So right here, we're just going to go with a 1 part.
Let's see what I've done. I just have much more white in here and much less green, much more green and much less white.
Blue.
What we're trying to do is just get a gradation of color.
Now the real trick is to make sure you have good brushes. Good brushes are such a key to getting a wonderful surface. Investment in a few quality artist brushes, which are usually a sable hair or some sort of synthetic, will achieve a much more beautiful finish. Now these larger eggs, because you can just tuck your fingers in and start to paint. Make sure when you apply the paint, you don't over-apply it because you want to try to keep the brush strokes to a minimum. And I've been working either up or down on the egg and in a circle. I can just rotate my wrist as I paint, smoothing it out.
How many coats?
About 3 coats is what I found works really wonderful.
Really beautiful.
You sand between each coat, and it's really at this point where you want to take the care to get that surface. It's about applying the coats thin enough and then sanding down so that you removed almost all the brush strokes. So you don't want to overstroke it. You don't want to go back and pull the paint off the surface.
There.
Looks perfect. And just sort of, that's part of the trick too, is sliding underneath. Now with the bottom part, I've just been holding my thumb on this little lip.
It goes on so well with that primed base coat.
It's incredible.
There, look at that. Look.
That's perfect. With this little one, which you can't split open, use a T-pin, just sort of skewer it, and there you've got your apparatus so that you don't get any fingers
Excellent.
on it. I'm gonna go with my lightest color now.
So I'm having all Araucana green eggs. And then how do you get this off the pin?
We have got a little block of Oasis. This is the trick.
I
Stick it in
see.
Oasis and let it dry because you really don't want any finger marks on these. If you
There
want.
was a contest in Russia last summer, and they sent me a set of these eggs to decorate for an auction. Kevin and I came up with this idea of making a simple white set of eggs and inside putting text from my 5 favorite Russian novels. And it got the most money. Isn't that nice?
Which I was very proud of.
Yes. So we have our palest egg, our darkest egg, and all we have to do now is the gradations.
That's right. Here I can show you how wonderful the surface will look once you've applied 2 or 3 coats. So if we take some felt, you can find that just putting it over the surface and turning, it often will buff up. You can already see that the shine is coming. If you want to get a little bit more shine, tack cloth, which you find at any paint hardware store, leaves a small residue of wax which you cannot see. You can see it's got this shine right now. As soon as I buff it, it really glistens.
So we'll fill these with candies and you'll see how charming they are. Perhaps the most beautiful Easter treat I've ever seen. Thank you so much, Kevin. It's a great project.
Thank you,
And
Martha.
don't forget, you can find these beautiful eggs at goldencockerel.com.